بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. قال الإمام الدكتور الشيخ نور الدين أتر رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا الله بعلومه وبركاته وبكم في الدارين آمين. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم في غاية التوادع مع الخلق كلهم، فكانت الجارية والعبد والمسكين يأخذون بيده في حاجاتهم فيذهب معهم يساعدهم. وكان يأكل على الأرض ويجلس على الأرض ويقول إنما أنا عبد آكل كما يأكل العبد. آكل. yeah, كذا آكل كما يأكل العبد وأجلس كما يجلس العبد. Um, okay, so it says he sallallahu alayhi wasallam was في غاية التوادع. So غاية means like the limit or like the end of something. So here it's like the utmost of some quality. So he sallallahu alayhi wasallam was at he had like basically the maximum possible humbleness. So we would say the utmost humility. He had the utmost humility. Um with utmost humility with all of creation. So مع الخلق كلهم. كلهم is like a تأكيد, is emphasizing الخلق. So with creation, all of creation, he was very humble with them. And of course, humility doesn't preclude strength or needing to fight or anything like that, of course. But I was just saying, in general, uh, he was very humble with the creation. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I was trying to find in the translation, see how he translated. He said he was the paragon of humility, which is nice. Um, فكانت الجارية تعد. So the جارية, do you know what the جارية is?
Is that the slave girl?
Yeah, so classically they use it for a slave girl. Now they kind of use it just for like just any girl, like a young girl. Sometimes they use it for, so it wouldn't mean like a slave now, but yeah, slave girl. So it's just trying to show like the people with the lowest status could still like interact with An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the jariya, the slave girl, and the slave, and the miskin, the poor person, they could all. So remember we have kanat here, then we have mudara here, so it's like past continuous. They could they would all take him by his hand, um, for their needs. And he, so this is talking about An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَيَذْهَبُ, and he would go with them, يُسَاعِدُهُم, helping them. Like he would go with them, assisting them. So here we have يُسَاعِدُهُم. There's no wow in front of it or anything. So فَيَذْهَبُ مَعَهُم يُسَاعِدُهُم. You'd say this is a jumla فعلية, right? This is a jumla فعلية, but it's a hal. So they call it jumla haliyah. So it's telling you the state of An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he was going with them. So going with them while helping them, basically. That's why there's no wow in front of it. It's just فَيَذْهَبُ مَعَهُمْ يُسَاعِدُهُم. So it's a hal for, it's technically a hal for the huwa inside يذهب. This is called the dhul hal or the sahib the hal, they call it. So what the hal is describing. So the state of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as he was going with them was that he was helping them, assisting them. And that the hal happens a lot. They have like the hal and the in Arabic is used like all the time. A lot of times it's a full sentence or it could just be one word. So he says wakana, and he used to eat on the ground. So he used to eat while sitting on the ground, and he would eat on the ground and he would sit on the ground. So again, this kana plus the mudara, so it's like a past continuous. He would do this. He used to do this. He would eat on the ground, and sit on the ground, and he would say, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So again, yakul means kana yakul. So he used to say, Innama ana abd, I'm only a slave. I eat just like a slave eats, and I sit just like a slave sits. So can we call the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a slave? I know some people have mentioned that, we shouldn't really use that translation because it's kind of like has a low status, when we say it in English as a slave. The only thing is, maybe you can say that when he says like Ana Abdullah, you can translate slave as a worshiper because slave can also be used. Abd can also be used to mean a worshiper. But usually we use abid, but still abd can be used that way. But in a statement like this, in a hadith like this, you have to translate it as slave. It obviously means slave. And abd even in Arabic, it does have like a lowly status, and it did even in that time. So that's maybe you can argue against what some people say based on like narrations like this one. Um, but I think there's like room to disagree and about what's the more a more wise translation. I just wouldn't agree with anyone saying like, oh, because this person called the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam a slave in a sense that's not disrespectful, then it's like they're disrespecting the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam, which is what some people try to say. They say we should never say that. But here in this kind of narration, it's very obvious that it means a slave. It doesn't mean a worshiper here. Well, it doesn't make sense to say I eat like a worshiper eats and I sit like a worshiper sits. That was just a random thought because I've seen like videos and stuff like that about every camp or every group has these issues where it's like they make them red lines even though they're just like the issues that you can disagree about. They're not like qat'i matters of aqidah or something like that. So this is like some groups make this like one of those issues, even though it's not. It's just something that you can disagree or agree, and you might be able to argue either way. Okay, so why don't you want to read the next paragraph, say the Hamza?
sure إن شاء الله. آه قال الدكتور نور الدين عطر رحمه الله تعالى: وكان لتواضعه يجالس المساكين ويسأل الله حب المساكين.
So
و...
what's the file for يسأل?
the هو, or I guess I see يسأل الله
Yeah,
حب
good. That's what I was
المساكين
getting at. So yeah, that's Allah. Good.
ويتوسد ويتوسد يده يده الشريفة
Yeah.
ويقص من نفسه الكريمة ويلطع أصابعه ولا يأكل متكئا وكان يخيط.
This one is muttaki'an. So what verb form do you think this is coming from? It's ism fa'il from some verb form.
Would this be form 2
Form
or no?
no.
This
I
is
can
this
tell.
a افتعل.
Yeah, ifta'ala. So ism fa'il min ifta'ala. So the only reason that it looks weird and it has a shadda is because there's a ta as a root letter too. So ittaka'a is the madi. Ittaka'a. Yattaki'u, muttaki'un. So it comes from, oh, I think, no, actually the ta is not. It's because of the wow. It's a wow. I think it's wow kaf hamza. Let me just make sure. The wow kaf hamza is the root. So because that wow disappears, you can't just have just one ta, so it becomes like a shadda ta. So I just make sure. Otherwise, it's calm. Okay. Waka'a. Yeah, so waka'a, ittaka'a. So it's from wow kaf hamza. Ittaka'a doesn't put, yeah, okay. So, okay, go ahead.
ولا يأكل متكئا وكان يخيط ثوبه ويخصف نعله ويكون في بيته عمل عمل أهله.
Okay, so you can try translating. If there's anything you don't know, we can look at it together.
Uh, and for his humility, and out of his humility
Yeah.
he would sit with the poor people.
Yeah, so to sit with, so what's the verb form here?
مسكين مساكين, or the
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about
يجالس,
yujalisu. Yeah.
uh, verb form 3
Yeah, you're right.
فعل يفاعل.
Good. So it's jalasa, yujalisu. And then what would be the muster then?
um there's two, right? Mujalasa or Jilas.
Yeah, mujalasa and jalasa. I don't know if jalasa exists. Like I said, just because there's two possible forms doesn't mean they both exist. So Majalisa definitely exists. I'm not sure about the Jalas, so it could be some rare thing. Yeah, okay, good. So Jalasa Jalasu means to like sit with someone specifically. And remember we said number three often means an action being done by two people together. So like two people sitting with each other. So Jalasa is like to sit with each other rather or in someone's company. But Jalasa is just to sit. Okay, good.
And he would ask Allah for the love of the poor people.
Yeah, and he's sallallahu alaihi wasallam always advised people to
So,
love the poor and to sit with the poor. And it's part of the general advice, right? In matters of the dunya, we should always look at people who are under us. So we're thankful for what we have. And for matters of the akhirah, we should always look at people above us. So we don't think ourselves to be great and we should try to get to their level. But we shouldn't hang out with people like we shouldn't be people shouldn't have spend too much time with people who are above them in the dunya, either in status or in money, wealth, whatever, because it can often create jealousy or make someone focus on the dunya because they want to do what other people have, they want what other people have. And same for the akhirah, for ukhrawi things, better to hang out with people who they're above us so that we can become like them. Of course, it doesn't mean you never do because if you think about it anyway, if you sit with people above you, then they're sitting with someone who's lower than them. So it doesn't mean, never. It just means like this is a general advice of the Prophet. At least that was. Yeah. Sorry. Go. Continue.
I don't know this
Okay.
verb.
So what's the verb form though?
تفعل يتفعل.
Good. So tawassada, yatawassadu, which is which one again? I actually don't remember, but
I think it's verb forms five.
I think it is five. Yeah. Tafa'ala. So tawassada, yatawassadu. So first of all, do you know what a wisada is?
No.
Okay. So wisada means a pillow or a cushion. So then tawassada yatawassadu means to use something as a pillow. So it's a very specific verb to use something as a pillow. So then the maf'ul bihi of it would be the thing that's being used as a pillow. So then here, what is he using as a pillow? Yatawassadu yadahu.
He would use his blessed hand.
Yes, he would use his blessed hand as a pillow. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Meaning like he didn't have a pillow. Rather, he would just put his hand under his. You know that he would put his it's in the sunnah, right? He would put his left hand on top of the right hand under the cheek as a pillow. Or some there's some different narrations about it. But anyway, we have narrations that are like that, like left hand on top of the right hand, and then use those as a pillow. So he would just sleep on his hands without using the pillow, which is and it's a sunnah to do. Even if you use a pillow, it's sunnah still to do it on your hand because then that's why you're using directly as a pillow. So tawassul to use as a pillow. And you see it in books of fiqh, like they're like, oh, or books of adab al-ilm, don't use the Quran as a pillow, don't use books as a pillow unless it's to like protect it from other people or something like that. So this verb does actually get used in books of ilm. So I know it's like seems like a really obscure verb, but as you can see, it's being used right here in the Shema. So it is a verb to know. Okay.
ويقص من نفسه الكريمة. Um,
Yeah, qassa, yaqissu. It has a lot of meanings actually. Like this word qassa. Um, Here it says yuqissu. So can you tell me which verb form it is, even if you don't know what the verb is?
um, it almost feels like it's either two or four.
So it can be two only because two that normally would start with what? It would start with which vowel?
Would it not start with the yeah and
Oh wait,
dhamma?
yeah, no, sorry, you're right. I was thinking of the wrong form. Qassa, qassa, yuqissu. Yeah, but then why would they? Hold on, it's qassa. So then, no, but you know why that's not right? Because in form two, we would do if we have the same vowel like a shadda, then you would get one more. You would get like um qassasa yuqassisu. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so for example, I'm trying to think of another example. Yeah, darara yudarriru, and like what's another example? That's why I think here it should be four because
So,
it would be
or is it verb form one?
oh well yeah, but then why would I have a dhamma on the
Oh, that's true too.
yeah. I mean it means to like cut, right? And that's also what the form one means, but here it's yukisu. Kasa yukisu. So it does say form two, it means that. I mean it doesn't have a form four here though. I guess it could be, but yes, maybe it is form two. Actually, you know that some of those verbs you can have both ways. I just realized. Form two, there's some verbs you can actually do it both ways. You can do it like qassasa yuqassisu or qassa yuqissu or yep, depending on which vowel it takes. So actually, I think you're right. I think it is form two here. Even though it doesn't come up in this, even though it doesn't come up that way in this dictionary, but yeah, I think it is form two here because sometimes you could have more than one. Well, more than one form of the same thing for these double letters, which does come up in stuff actually, now that I remember it. So yeah, they have some weird meanings of it here, like plastering your house. Qassasa to plaster something. It's not exactly the one we're looking for, but I'm trying to make sure that it comes up in some kind of okay here, qassa, yaqussu to cut off. That's yaqussu. And then for number two, taqsis to cover with gypsum. That's what they're saying here, like plaster. Number three. Okay, here, hear that before. Aqsa, Aqsu min. Yeah, actually, it is min, but that's a different meaning, actually. Hmm. How about whoops. Yeah, let's just I'm just gonna get the you can continue. I'm just gonna get the dictionary, this class dictionary look.
So he would cut with his own. You said it's to cut, right?
Yes, it means to cut. So basically, usually it's just to cut hair. So here it's like it's trying to show that he's humble and he didn't need other people to do everything for him. So he's cutting hair basically from his own noble body. Nafs here like body, or his from his own self, he's doing the cutting. He's not making someone else do it for him.
I see.
So
And then I'm not sure about the next verb either.
yeah, sure. It is ويلتع أصابعه. So meaning he would cut his own what do you call it? Cut his own nails. يلتع means cutting nails.
Oh wow, subhanAllah, it's also specific.
Yeah, it's very specific. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we can use for other things too, but I think if you use it along with fingers, then it means cutting the nails. Maybe it has other meanings too. I don't actually remember. Qata'a, I don't know. Here it says to strike or to hit or erase, but this is a modern Arabic. Maybe it didn't mean that in the modern Arabic. I don't know. But we should start using the dictionary in this class like for practice too. Do you have any dictionaries like physical copies? Like you have the handswear, right? Or
Yeah, I just have the Hanswear.
okay, yeah. Eventually, actually, yeah, I mean, you don't have to now, but eventually it's good to get some experience using the Arabic dictionaries because, I mean, eventually you run into a limit with handswear. And
I see
also,
it.
if you need to know for sure, like the depth of some verb or something, like you can't really use handswear for that. You have to use some Arabic dictionary.
Yeah, I think you linked Mughni al-Labib and Mukhtar al-Sihah earlier, right?
Yeah, Mukhtar al-Siha, but Mughni al-Labib is more for the huruf only, not for everything.
Okay.
But yeah, Mukhtar al-Siha and Misbah, no, al-Misbah al-Munir, I think. Or
Al-Misbah
I don't know if I linked it or not, to be honest, but if I did, then yeah, that's the one. Okay. So next one, you can keep going. I don't know if you know what muttaki, huh?
Um, and he would not eat while reclining.
Yeah, reclining or leaning on anything. So they say like having his hands on the ground and leaning back or reclining with his back to the wall. He would rather lean forward a little bit. You know, like how you see like all these tablighis eat in the masjid,
Yeah.
like the same way. So that, yeah, they say that's from the sunnah, that particular way. I'm not all of them, but like some of them do that specific thing. Okay, here I found this قص أثره قص وقصيصا والقاص وقص الشعر والظفر قطع منهما بالمقص أي المفرد. So here it's in قص يقص. I mean, maybe it should be يقص instead of يقص, but I'm just trying to see if the يقص is there. Well, oh, here أقص وأقص البعير هزالا. So it's not the same meaning. That's not a cutting meaning. وقصه الموت وقصه دنا منه. Okay, death became close. Obviously not what we're looking for. ضربه حتى أقصه من الموت وقصه على الموت أدناه منه وتقصيص الدار تجسيسها plastering the house. Okay, whatever. واقتص, that's for قصاص. كتقصصه. Yeah, I don't really see that meaning here for yukasu, like something that would make sense for yukasu. أقصه. I don't know. I guess for now we can say maybe it's yakusu. Or yeah, with the, like normal a normal form one, but we'll have to I'll have to look in other dictionaries too. Okay, so yeah, now keep going then.
وكان يخيط ثوبه. Um, is this related to the thobe being above the ankles?
No, khata yakhitu. Do you remember that? Do you know the word al khayt? Like it comes in the Quran, al khayt al abyad min al fajr.
Like the no, I don't.
Naz, you can chime in too. I see you're here now.
Sorry, Sheikh, I'm driving.
Oh, no problem. But you know the word khayt? Actually, no, you're driving. Just don't answer anything.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, khayt is thread. Yeah.
Yeah, thread. So the word khata yakhitu was like stitching. So basically saying he would stitch his own clothes, like meaning repair them basically. And then the next one, يخصف نعله. You could probably guess, you know the na'al, right? So then you can probably guess what it means here.
And he would wear his sandals?
Well, it's more about something that would be like a sign of humility. And it goes along with like he would stitch his own clothes. So also he would like basically repair his own shoes or repair his own sandals. So it needs new soles or something, he would do it himself. That's what it's saying. Now the last part you can translate that way. يكون في بيته في عمل أهلي.
And he was in his house in the service of his family.
Yeah, so he was like serving his family. He would be in the service of family in his house. Of course, a lot of times people misuse these kind of statements now to make it seem like it's an obligation for a man to do everything at home or something like that. But obviously, that's not what it's saying. He was probably one of the most busy people in history. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But despite that, he would still serve his family. That's the point. That's the point here. Okay, I'll read the next paragraph. We'll go for another like 10 minutes or so. I don't want to go all the way till Maghrib because might want to do a couple things before then, and people need to get ready for praying and stuff. I'm just checking one other dictionary right now for the qassa thing, because I don't know if it's a mistake or not in the vowels. It could easily be a mistake in the vowels, but like they went out of their way to give it those vowels, so it could just be a form I'm not finding, or maybe I'm just not thinking of it. I don't know. Qassa, qassa. So sometimes in dictionaries, if it's like qassa, you have to look up qaf, sad, sad. But in some dictionaries, you look up qaf, sad, which means it'll come in the beginning before qaf, sad, ba, for example. But in some dictionaries, it's qaf, sad, sad, so it'll come after qaf, sad, ba, and other entries. So you just have to look both ways sometimes. So قصصته قصا من باب قطعته. Okay. قصصته أثر وقاصصته. This is number three. It's from قصاص. And then وقاصه مقاصة. Okay, أقص. Yeah, same thing here. Taqassa is not the one we're looking for. Yeah, for now, I guess I would say it seems like it should have been Yaqassu. I don't know. I'm not finding it. Like it's not in a Qamus al-Muhit. Actually, I should just be looking in the hadith books because it's probably just quoting the hadith books. Okay, so let me read this one. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم في غاية الفصاحة والبلاغة فهو أفصح العرب قال صلى الله عليه وسلم أعطيت جوامع الكلم وخواتيمه واختصر لي اختصارا. So if you're going to read this continuously واختصر لي اختصارا, but kind of hard to understand for the listener, so that's why I said واختصر لي اختصارا. حتى كان طابع الحكمة هو طابع كلامي. هو طابع كلامي. You can actually read this one both ways. You can say هو طابع كلامي or هو طابع كلامي. Even with the huwa there, it could still be the khabar of kana. Or you can say the huwa makes it a new sentence. So now it's tabi'u, it's a khabar, and then the whole jumla is khabar of kana, huwa tabi'u kalami. So you can actually read it both ways. If you read it the first way, tabi'a kalami, then this huwa is like damir sha'n, no place in the i'rab. If you read the second way, tabi'u kalami, then this huwa would be a mubtada of a new sentence. So anyway, that's always the case in these kana, or that's often the case in these kana sentences that have like a huwa in the middle. Um, there's some rules related to it too in like balagha and stuff, but that's just the basic thing. مع أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم ما كان يتعانى تحبير الكلام ولا تحسينه قال تعالى وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له. So he was at the highest possible, he was at the highest level of eloquence, and fasaha is eloquence, and balagha like I guess rhetorical skill, or all the different skills related to eloquent speech. Because rhetoric we use oftentimes to mean something else, which is the science of disputation and things like that. Sometimes they use that as a translation for that. So yeah, I guess we could say rhetoric here though for balagha, even though balagha is much broader than just rhetoric. فهو أفصح العرب. He was the most eloquent of all of the Arabs, which is pretty huge thing, knowing their eloquence and how into poetry and things they were. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, صلى الله عليه وسلم, I've been given جوامع الكلم. This is extremely hard to translate, right? I've been given basically, Jawami al-Kalam speech that's very little, is very small in terms of the actual wording, but it's huge in terms of its meaning. So concise, it's very concise and yet meaningful, extremely meaningful. وَخَوَاتِيمَهُ. And I was given, same thing really, right? It's like the khawatim, literally like the seals of it. So as far as I know here, it means that it's like the best possible speech. We say he's Khatam al-Nabiyyin. It's like the final word. Khatam al-Kalam. He's like, it's the final word in eloquence or something like that. I don't know what a good translation of this would be. وَاخْتُصِرَ لِي اخْتِصَارًا. And it was made, like literally abridged or concise for me, or succinct. Like I was basically he has that ability, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to say a lot in very few words. وحتى كان تابع الحكمة هو تابع كلامه. Such that the hallmark, like the hallmark of wisdom, tabi, it also means like a khatim, right? Like a seal. It's like the hallmark of like wisdom, or like, the highest possible wisdom would be uh like the same hallmark of his own speech, with his own speech. So even though ma'annahu sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though he didn't used to try yata'ana, so we have ta'ana yata'ana from uniya yani. Imprint of wisdom was the imprint of speech. I do like imprint. Yeah, imprint is nice. Although I don't know if like the average speaker would understand what's being said, but I like that. Yeah. Um. So he didn't yata'ana to ana yani, to be concerned with, right? So yata'ana, he didn't concern himself with like refining his own speech. He didn't concern himself with refining his own speech, tahbir. Uh, حبر يحبر. So تحبير, حبر can mean ink. Hibr can mean a big scholar. Like they used to use it for like rabbis and stuff. Ahbar, right? It comes in the Quran. Although in the Quran it's used for priests. I guess used for both, right? For rabbis and priests, I think, if I remember correctly. But anyway, habbar is like to embellish something or to refine something or to write very elegantly. So he sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not concern himself with refining his speech nor with beautifying it. But it was just something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him directly, right? Uh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we did not teach him poetry, nor is it appropriate for him. Because he's a prophet, he's not a poet. And وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَاعِرٍ. It says in a different surah, right? وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَاعِرٍ قَلِيلًا مَا What is it? وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَاعِرٍ قَلِيلًا مَا تُؤْمِنُونَ. It comes in surah, maybe Al-Qalam. So it's not, so whatever he says is not the speech of a poet. And they have a big discussion in the commentaries of a hadith. We have a few hadith here and there, but Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did recite poetry. So there's a big debate, like, okay, why is he reciting poetry? He's not supposed to be a poet, salatu wasalam. And I think the easiest answer is just, okay, just because you recite a few lines of poetry that you didn't write yourself, then it doesn't make you a poet. Or even if you did write yourself, it's like one or two lines in your whole life. It doesn't make you a poet. So like that in that sense, he alayhi salatu wasalam was not a poet. Even though, of course, he could have, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, didn't prevent him, he would have been able to compose better poetry than any other Arab. But he didn't because that's not his role. Or another answer that they say is that he would slightly change his poetry to break the meter so that it wouldn't count as poetry. So they say that sometimes he would change the meter slightly, even when reciting other people's poetry, so that he couldn't be called a poet. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Either way, he's not a poet, as we know. Okay, so why don't this last four lines, Hamza, why don't you read it, and then we'll stop for today.
Okay, inshallah. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم في غاية الفصل sorry. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم في غاية الحلم والعفو لا يغضب لنفسه ولا ينتقم لها إلا أن تنتهك حرمة الله فيغضب الله فيغضب لله. وكان الحلم فيه صلى الله عليه وسلم سجية كم آذاه جفاة الأعراب وأغل و- وأغل وأغلظوا فعفى عنهم.
Yeah, I think this is a
But
typo. It's just a simple form, aghladu. Okay,
وأغلظوا
aghlada yughlidu. Yeah, so I'm gonna correct mine also. Yeah, we can continue.
وأغلظوا فعفى عنهم بل أكرمهم وأجزل لهم وأجزل لهم العطية.
Okay, so try to translate what you can.
And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam was of the utmost in forbearance and forgiveness.
Yeah, they say hilm. Hilm is like the source of every other good quality. They say there's like al hilm, Sayyid al akhlaq or something. They say Sayyid al something like that. Yeah, and they say, and there's a famous hadith, right? إنما الحلم بالتحلم. You can only have forbearance by, trying to have forbearance by practicing it. Yeah, keep going.
He would not get angry out of his own desires,
Yeah, like for his own sake. If someone did something to him, he wouldn't become angry for that. He'd only become angry for Allah's sake. Something about the Sharia.
and he wouldn't take revenge for his own sake. Uh, um, this one might be a little tough.
Okay. So this is intahaka yantahiku. So first of all, tell me which form it is.
Um, this is form, is it seven? Or no, eight. In fa'ala yanfa'ilu.
Oh yeah, fa'ala and fa'ilu. Yeah, I always forget the numbers now. So yeah, I think you're right. Intahaka yantahiku intihakan. So it means to violate, basically. It probably has other meanings too, but in this case, it means violating. So, and then hurma is like sanctity, and we often use it to mean the rules of the Sharia. Like in that famous hadith, "Halu bayn wa halu bayn wa mushtabihat." Actually, it's not hurma in there, it's a different word in there. Himallahi, maharimuhu. So it's similar, actually. So basically, things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sanctified, it's like something haram is an example of something that Allah has sanctified. You can't go there. It's haram. So here, illa, he would only time he would become angry or take revenge for something, unless, so he said, it wouldn't happen unless the sanctity, some sanctity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was violated. تنتهك. So it's مبني on المجهول. فيغضب لله. So he would get angry for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for his own sake. So basically because of the Sharia.
And then وكان الحلم فيه صلى الله عليه وسلم, and his forbearance in it صلى الله عليه وسلم was
So when they say kana something X sajiyatan lahu, that means something became like second nature to him. It was like complete. It was like like innate. They call it sajiyatan lahu. So they say like you could say kana hayatu sajiyatan lah. He was a very humble. Like, it was like second nature to him. Um, yeah, sajiya, like his own nature, his own nature. So they said kana hilmu fihi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For having forbearance was I'll say forbearance for him was uh second nature or his innate disposition or something like that. Sajiyatan. They say that also about ilm, like like this guy was so good in kalam, like ilm al kalam, kana al kalamu sajiyatan lahu. It became like he it's like he knows it like just like if he was born with it. They say that in like ulum as well. Okay, let's keep going.
I think this from here to the end.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of some difficult words here. So chem, what's chem though? You probably know that.
How many?
Yeah, so it could be how many or how much. So here it's like how much ada. So ada, which form is ada? Ada, you well we say you yeah.
Is this
So
form 3? فعل?
yeah, but then would it be the mudara wouldn't have a dhamma then, right? Oh it does actually.
That's,
Fa'ala yufa'ilu, but it's not, it's another one.
oh, it's form 4 again?
Yeah, it's form 4.
The
Because
trickiest one.
it would have been yu'adhi if it was form 3. Yeah, but it's yu'zi. So this is form 4. Adha yu'zi, which means to cause someone harm. So kam who? This who is going back to an-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So how much did they harm him? But now who's the fa'al? The fa'al is jufatu. This is plural of jafin. So you say al-jafi or jafin. It means dry, right? So like dry, if you say it about in English, just like if you say it, well, actually dry in English is a little different, but here it really means like someone harsh, no manners. And he says, Jufatul Arab, how much did the ill-mannered Bedouins harm him? And like there were like, and yet he forgave them, as he's going to say. So Arab, plural of, what's the singular of Arab?
Is it Arab?
No, so actually Arab is already a plural of something else. So the plural, the singular for Arab is Arabi, a singular. Oops. And then Arabi becomes Arab. This is plural. This is the singular mufrad. But Arab is a plural of something else. It comes in the hadith a lot because everyone who came to the Prophet ﷺ, half of them were, Bedouin. So the singular is Arabi. That's a singular. And then the plural is Al-A'rab. So basically Bedouins, desert Arabs. Which we know that the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Badu Jaf. Staying in the desert makes someone dry and harsh because they don't get cultured like you do in the city, and they don't learn, etc. And I think we said this before, but Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a city person. He was not a Bedouin. He was not like a nomad as Westerners tend to like imagine him. And Muslims sometimes fall into that too. But he was a person from the city. He was from the big city actually for them. That was the big city for Mecca. So he definitely wasn't some sort of nomadic person with like who hadn't like been around people his whole life with proper manners and socialization. He was sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he himself, criticized the character of these desert Arabs because they usually were like that. They're very rough and gruff. I shouldn't say character, but their nature. They're rough and gruff, and they could still have good character, but it would be according to their own culture, not according to the culture of, more sophisticated people. And we have whole chapters in the Hadith books about, okay, city people versus desert dwellers. But of course, the cities there were of a quite different nature than the cities of today. So we shouldn't think of it as exactly the same. But he definitely wasn't one of them. So how much did these desert Arabs, Bedouins, harsh desert Arabs harm him? وَأَغْلَظُوا. So أغلظ يغلظ. So what is anyone know what غلظة is? Or غلظة? We have it in Urdu too, by the way, right? غليظ. We say غليظ.
Is it like filth? Like,
So that's what it means in Urdu, but here it's a little bit different. So أغلظ. I don't know if we use that word. I don't know if we use it in the same meaning. أغلظ يغلظ. Oh, whoops. يغلظ. It means like to be very rough and harsh. To be rough. Actually, yeah, to act rough or harshly with. It comes in the Quran too, right? يا أيها النبي إذا جاهدوا الكفار والمنافقين واغلظ عليهم ومأواهم. Actually, that's form one, but it's similar. واغلظ عليهم ومأواهم جهنم وبئس المصير. يا أيها النبي إذا جاهدوا الكفار. No, sorry, yeah, not إذا. يا أيها النبي جاهدوا الكفار والمنافقين. So make, like fight against the kuffar and the munafiqun, وَغْلَظْ عَلَيْهِمْ, and be harsh with them, So that's like direct command to the Prophet ﷺ. So here, same thing. These Bedouins were very harsh with him. Like we talked about, maybe we didn't talk about the story of the Bedouin ripping off the shirt of the Prophet ﷺ, like off his back, and he ﷺ just giving it to him, even after they were so rough with him. Because they come to him and they want money. So because he was known to be so generous, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they were very rough with him. But as it says here, فَعَفَى عَنْهُمْ, he forgave them for it. He didn't even because that's his ummah and he loves his ummah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So فَعَفَى, sometimes they write afa as a afa like this with a alif maksura. I've never actually been able to figure out if there's like if one way is right or wrong. And the rules of how to write these words, how to write Arabic have changed over time. So I don't know, something to look into. I mean, it's an alif either way. There's rules about when to use an alif maksura and a normal alif. فَعَفَى عَنْهُمْ, but he forgave them. بَلْ أَكْرَمَهُم, not only did he forgive them, rather he honored them. وَأَجْزَلَ لَهُمْ الْعَطِيَّةِ, and he would even give them gifts like atiyya. Well, actually, no, أَجْزَلَ, like he would be generous in his giving. So al-atiyya is giving, is the master, right? But أَجْزَلَ, so jazula means to be like a lot, right? So ajzala, he would be very generous and open-handed. So he would even be generous and open-handed giving them, even though they were so rough with him and they had like terrible adab with him. Because, they didn't know that kind of adab. They didn't know how to act among like leaders and high people like that. I just realized, I wonder if that's why we have, the author of the Da'al al-Khairat al-Jazuli. I wonder if that has something to do with this root, or is it just the name of a place? I don't really know. Al-Jazuli. Okay, so inshallah we'll stop there today and we'll continue next week. I think eventually we might have to, I mean, the Maghrib time is changing and stuff, so I might have to change the time a little. So inshallah we'll meet next week. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. جزا الله أن سيدنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم ما هو أهله. جزا الله أن سيدنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم ما هو أهله. جزا الله أن سيدنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم ما هو أهله. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. I just looked this up. It says Jazuli is actually nisbah to a Berber tribe. It's called Jazulin or something like that. I mean, it's not Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt, but it's just probably right. Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.